Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy, where curiosity takes flight and wisdom wears wings. Right, so this week in today's lesson I'm going to be reading you a short article by Kavita Puri, who is a journalist and broadcaster for BBC Radio 4. And she's written an article that has been published in the April 2025 edition of the BBC History magazine on the long-standing but now dwindling Jewish community of Kochi. So here's the article. I'm going to read you the article and then I'm going to read you my own research. So here goes. So, in the warm winter sun of Monticello, district of Kochi in Kerala, I wandered the labyrinth streets of Jewtown. The main thoroughfare, Synagogue Lane, is lined with shops sporting names such as Shalom, some displaying the Star of David in the windows and selling cashmere shawls, spices and handicrafts. This is the historical heart of India's Jewish community, though today there are hardly any Jews living here. Kochi, formerly Kochi, has a centuries-long Jewish presence. The date of the earliest arrivals is debated. Some say that the first Jews sailed to South India on the ships of King Solomon some 30 centuries ago. Certainly references to Jewish traders in India have been found in documents dating back to the 8th and 9th centuries AD. Kept in a synagogue storage area in Cairo, a number of Jews settled in the ancient trading port of and about from the 14th century dispersed. Many moved to Kochi around 20 miles to the south. Over the following centuries, European Jews, known as the local Malay language as literally foreigners, began to arrive in India. Many of them were refugees fleeing the Iberian Peninsula during the Spanish Inquisition. Sorry, this music sort of gives me the creeps. It's the music, you know, from Schindler's List, you know, when they're at Auschwitz. It really gives me the creeps, this music. But I thought it was quite relevant about the mood and stuff. Fleeing the Iberian Peninsula. Many of them were refugees fleeing the Iberian Peninsula during the Spanish Inquisition and following the expulsion of Jews in 1492. Over later centuries, more Jews came from Western Europe as well as from North Africa and the Middle East. At its height, Kochi's Jewish community numbered around 2,000 members in the 19th century, though some began leaving to pursue opportunities in Bombay, now Mumbai, and Calcutta, now Colombo, and then from 1848 to live permanently in the newly created state of Israel. The Paradesi Synagogue, built in 1568 by sporadic Jews, still stands next to Monticello Palace. As you enter the courtyard today, you can see that it shares a wall with a Hindu temple. The synagogue remains open for visitors and for worship, and is cared for by the local Indian community. The small but colourful interior features hand-painted 18th century Chinese floor tiles and the grand Belgian chandeliers. It also preserves engraved copper plates from the Hindu ruler given to a Jewish leader in around AD 10,000. The last major celebration held here was in 2018 when the synagogue marked its 450th anniversary. Some 150 members of the Paradesi Jewish community arrived from their homes across the world to mark the occasion. Generations of family members who had only heard stories of the synagogue came to visit and to walk the same streets that their ancestors had strolled decades and centuries earlier. The oldest member of India's Paradesi Jewish community, Sarah Cohen, died a year later, a few days short of her 97th birthday. Her embroidery shop still stands in Monticello and still bears her name. It's now looked after by Iberian, a Muslim who had known Sarah and her husband for decades. He looked after her in her old age and was treated by the couple as their son. He carries on her legacy today in the same place she lived, making embroidery following her patterns. The Paradesi Synagogue is the only one of eight in Kerala that is regularly active. I was told that the current rabbi is from overseas and that the congregation for providing art service is typically made up of Jewish visitors. A portion of the Torah scroll is read every Shabbat and during religious holidays, retrieved from the silver cases in which the synagogue texts were kept. These causes are topped with gold crowns, some of which were gifts from local magi's. Through Kochi's long-standing Jewish community is largely gone, their memories and ancient traditions are kept alive still. Now that is the article, like I say, this was written by Kavita Puri, who is a journalist and broadcaster for later for BBC Radio 4, and that article was published in the 2025 edition of the BBC History magazine. Now I want to go over now my own research, so here goes. Today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy, the long-standing but dwindling Jewish community of Kochi. Today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy took us on a journey to one of the hidden treasures of India, the historic Jewish community of Kochi. This community, known as the Malayalam Jews or Kochi Jews, is among the oldest Jewish diasporas in the world. Its story is one of migration, resilience, cultural preservation and change, making it a perfect subject for the Academy's mission to teach young minds about transformation, mobility and holding on to identity amidst change. The historic Jewish connection to Kochi. The Jewish settlement of Kochi in the Indian state of Kerala is believed to date back as far as the era of King Solomon, with some scholars pointing to the arrival after the Roman invasion of Jerusalem in 70 CE. Drawn by the flourishing trade on the Mambala coast, Jewish merchants settled near the ancient port of Muscat. Now later a catastrophic flood and foreign invasion forced them to establish new homes in the area that is today known as Kochi. The town of Kochi itself became a thriving hub for Jewish life in the 16th century. The ruler of Kochi granted the Jewish community land in the Maticheri area, leading to the creation of Jewtown and the establishment of the famous Paradesi Synagogue in 1568, which still stands as a symbol of the community's rich heritage. Known as a melting pot of culture, Jewtown became famous not only for its religious importance, but also for its bustling trade in spices, artifacts and antiques. A story of resilience and distinct identity. For centuries, the Jewish community in Kochi stood strong, blending their heritage with local customs while retaining the distinct practices of Judaism. The community was divided into Jewish groups such as the Membula Jews and Paradesi Jews, with each preserving its own traditions. The Membula Jews believed to have been among the earliest settlers, closely linked with the local population. Meanwhile, the Paradesi Jews arrived later from Spain, Portugal and the Middle East, bringing with them additional cultural influences. Despite external pressures and shifts in power dynamics due to invasions by the Portuguese and later the Dutch, the Jews of Kochi contributed significantly to Carol's history with their trade links and Jewish synagogues. Synagogues like the Paradesi Synagogue and another synagogue became not just places of worship, but also bearers of Jewish history, housing relics and cultural artifacts. However, following the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, a significant portion of Kochi's Jewish community emigrated to Israel, leaving behind only a handful of families. What was once a thriving community of thousands has now dwindled to fewer than 50 members. This transition represents not only the endurance of faith, but also a reflection on how communities evolve in response to global shifts. Lessons for today's generation. At the Butterfly Princess Academy, this lesson emphasises resilience, adaptation and the beauty of transformation. Concepts that align closely with the Academy's focus on self-discovery and identity. The story of the Jews of Kochi parallels the journey of our own students, who are often encouraged to embrace change while holding firmly to their unique identity and values. Just as the Jewish community of Kochi adapted to their surroundings without losing their cultural essence, the students learn that being different or distinct from others is a strength, not a weakness. Today's session also highlighted the significance of preserving heritage. As we explored the legacy of the Paradesi Synagogue along with Chinese towers and Belgian chandeliers, it became clear that cultural heritage is not just about monuments, but also about stories, traditions and values passed down through time. The dwindling numbers of the Kochi Jewish community teach us the importance of safeguarding customs and history so that future generations can learn from them. Through today's lesson, students at the Butterfly Princess Academy were inspired by the transformative journey of Kochi's Jewish community. Their story serves as a testament to endurance amidst upheaval and the strength it takes to hold on to one's identity in a changing world. Much like the butterfly, the Jews of Kochi symbolise transformation and perseverance, values for the Academy strives to install in its students every day. As they left today's lesson, students carried with them the message that their unique stories, much like those of the Jewish community of Kochi, are invaluable chapters in the larger narrative of our own shared humanity. Historical background and origins of the Jewish community of Kochi. The Jewish community in Kochi, located in the southern state of Kerala, is significant not only for its connection to Indian history, but also for emphasising a unique blend of cultural coexistence and resilience. Known as one of the oldest Jewish communities in the world, the Jews of Kochi hold an enduring legacy that spans thousands of years. Their history reflects a chronology of ancient roots, successful migration waves, and the preservation of a cultural identity that has weathered the challenges of time. The Jewish ancient roots. The Jewish presence in India, particularly in the region of Kochi, is said to date back to the ancient times, when trade routes connected the Middle East and the Melba coast. Historical accounts and local traditions suggest that Jewish traders might have arrived in India as early as the time of King Solomon, around 1000 BCE. The biblical connection lies in the suggestion that the port of Ophir, from where King Solomon's ships brought gold, ivory and spices, may have been based in or near the Melba region. This early connection established a foundation for the Jews' relationship with India, which would endure for millennia. The Jewish traders shared a cultural and economic narrative with the inhabitants of the region, particularly now locally known as Shigla, one of India's most ancient and prominent ports during that period. The Jews are said to have developed strong ties with the local communities, blending their identity with the Indian culture while continuing to maintain their traditions and beliefs. Apart from their ancient roots, the Jewish story in Kochi is one of the successful migration waves, each deeply shaping their identity and cultural framework of the community. Their migration patterns were influenced by global historical events and the pursuit of safety from persecution. Arrival of Jewish traders in ancient times. The earliest wave of Jewish migration to India is associated with Jewish merchants who were attached to its position as a thriving hub in international trade. Located close to the modern-day town of Kochi in Kerala was a famed trading port between India and distant civilizations, including Mesopotamia and the Roman Empire. Spice, jewels and other goods passed through its ports, and Jewish traders established a firm presence in this area as intermediaries between East and West. Migration after the Babylonian exile and Roman conquest. A significant historical migration occurred following the Babylonian exile in 586 BCE. This event scattered the Jewish population far and wide, with groups seeking refuge across the ancient world. Some of these refugees reportedly found their way to southern India, bringing with them their religious practices, beliefs and cultural traditions. Another notable influx occurred in 70 CE with the destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem by the Romans. The diaspora from this event contributed to the growth of the Jewish population, where the communities thrived for centuries as a key part of the religion, trade and cultural identity. Arrival of the sporadic Jews. In the late 15th and early 16th centuries, the Jewish community of Kochi experienced its final major wave of migration. During this period, the sporadic Jews, also known as Paradesi Jews or foreign Jews, arrived in Kochi seeking refuge from religious persecution in Spain, Portugal and later the Netherlands. These new arrivals settled primarily in what came to be known as Jewtown in Monticello, a suburb of present-day Kochi. This subgroup brought with its customs and traditions distinct from the early Merovingian Jews who had lived in the area for many centuries, thereby enriching the cultural and religious life of the Jewish community in Kochi. The historical background and origins of the Jewish community in Kochi serve as both a fascinating testament to ancient migratory patterns and a reminder of the enduring human capacity to adapt. With roots tracing back to the time of King Solomon and subsequent contributions from major waves of migration, the Kochian Jews demonstrate remarkable resilience and cultural synthesis while preserving their unique identity. Today their legacy lives on through historical monuments like the Paradesi Synagogue and the rich history of Jewish life on the Melba coast. The story of the Jewish community in Kochi highlights the interconnectedness of civilization over time and reminds us of the shared history that binds humanity across continents. The Jewish community of Kochi reflects a remarkable legacy of migration, intergeneration and cultural contribution over centuries. It is one of the most extraordinary examples of coexistence in Indian history, where a minority community thrived while preserving its unique identity. From their early settlements to their establishment in Monticello, the journey of the Kochian Jews is marked by resilience, adaptation and significant contributions to the economic and cultural fabric of Kerala. The settlement of the Jewish community in Kerala began, also known as Shingli, an ancient port city near present day, but it was a bustling trade hub on the Melba coast that connected India with ancient civilizations such as Mesopotamia, Egypt and Greece. This strategic location allowed Jewish traders to establish themselves early and contribute actively to this spice trade, which was the lifeblood of the region. During this time, the Jewish community enjoyed protection and privilege under the rulership of the Shaman King of Kerala. A significant figure in Jewish history during the era was Joseph Rabin, a leader entrusted with overseeing the community. According to the famous copper plate grants, a set of royal decrees given to Joseph Rabin in the 10th century, the Jews were accorded special rights including immunity from taxation, the use of certain symbols of power and land ownership. These privileges allowed the Jewish community to live peacefully and affirm its identity, cultivating a harmonious relationship with the local Hindu society for centuries. However, in the 14th century, a massive flood reshaped the geography of the region and destroyed the great port. As a result, many of the Jewish inhabitants were forced to migrate to nearby areas. The rulers of Kochi welcomed them to settle in Monticello, which marked the beginning of a new chapter in the history of the Kochian Jews. After the displacement caused by the flood, the Kochi Jews found solace in the town of Matscherry. The Hindu kings of Kochi remained supportive of the Jews, granting them land and rights to build homes and places of worship. This led to the establishment of Jewtown, which became the heart of Jewish life in Kerala. The most prominent symbol of this period is the Paradesi Synagogue, established in 1568, which remains an enduring and iconic landmark of Matscherry's Jewish community. The synagogue was built with a fascinating blend of Jewish tradition and local influences, including its intricate floor tiles imported from China and its Belgian glass chandeliers. The surrounding area became a vibrant cultural and commercial hub, buzzing with activities. The Jewish community played an integral part in shaping the social and economic life of the region. Monticello was known for its inclusivity and cultural harmony. The Kochi Jews enjoyed not only royal patronage, but also positive relationships with the Hindu, Muslim and Christian neighbours. This fusion of diverse cultures in Jewtown is reflected in language, architecture and daily life. For example, the Kochi Jews spoke a unique blend of a language that blended Malayalam with Hebrew elements, showcasing how the harmonious balance their heritage with local customs. The Jewish community contributions to the economic development of the region have been profound. As skilled traders and merchants, they were instrumental in the flourishing of Kochi's community, particularly in the trade of high-value spices such as pepper, cardamom and cinnamon. The Melbourne coast was globally renowned for its spice trade, which extended to the Middle East and Europe, and the Jews were often key intermediaries connecting these regions. The Jewish community also enriched the cultural fabric of Kochi through their traditions, music and art. The songs and chants sung in synagogues were profound in the unique style of Shingli tunes, reflecting a blend of Jewish and South Indian influences. The architecture of their synagogues further demonstrated the synthesis of cultures with traditional Jewish designs, contributing seamlessly with local Kerala elements. The traditions of mutual respect between the Jewish community and the local rulers laid the groundwork for lasting cultural exchange. The supportive policies of the Hindu kings allowed the Jewish communities to thrive, setting a precedent for harmonious interfaith relations. This positive relationship enabled cultural traditions and festivals to be celebrated openly, fostering awareness and interconnectedness between different communities. The settlement and historical development of the Jewish community in Kochi anticipates a story of displacement turned into an opportunity, resilience turned into development, and hardships turned into harmony. From the days of early settlement under the leadership of Joseph Rabin to the establishment of vibrant and cultural rich Jewtown in Matscherry, the communities helped shape the economic, cultural and social identity of Kerala. Their role in the spice trade and their integration with the local culture stand as timeless examples of how diverse communities can coexist and flourish together. Though small in numbers today, their legacy in Kochi is a shining testament to human perseverance and cross-cultural collaboration, a story that continues to inspire generations. Synagogues and religious practices of the Jewish community of Kochi. The Jewish community in Kochi stands as one of the oldest and most historically significant Jewish populations outside Israel, and their synagogue serves as a vibrant testament to their enduring legacy. These sacred spaces have not only functioned as a place of worship, but also as a cultural and social hubs, symbolising the coexistence of Jewish traditions with the local cultural millennia of Kerala. Through their synagogues and religious practices, the Kochi and Paradesi Jews have preserved their spiritual beliefs, cultural heritage and communal bonds over centuries. Paradesi Synagogue. The Paradesi Synagogue, located in the heart of Jewtown in Massachusetts, Kochi, is the most iconic and historical significance of all Jewish places of worship in India. Established in 1568, it holds the distinction of being the oldest active synagogue in the Commonwealth of Nations. Built by the Paradesi Jews, a distinct group of sporadic Jews who migrated to Kochi from Spain and Portugal during the 15th and 16th centuries. The Jewish synagogue is both a spiritual and architectural marvel, reflecting the harmonious coexistence of Jewish heritage and Indian culture. The Paradesi Synagogue is renowned for its unique architecture and stunning interior. Among its most striking features are the Chinese hand-painted porcelain tiles that line the synagogue floor. Each tile is uniquely designed, adding an elegant touch that resonates with both Jewish and Eastern aesthetics. The synagogue also boasts exquisite Belgian glass and glaze, which illuminates its interior with a sense of grandeur suited to the sacred space. One of its most valuable historical artifacts is the collection of copper plates, which document the privileges and rights granted to the Jewish leader Joseph Rabin by the local Hindu rulers, a testament to the cordial relationship between the Jews and the native rulers. Although today the Jewish community in Kochi is small, the Paradesi Synagogue remains a functioning house of worship and a key cultural landmark, attracting tourists and historians eager to explore the rich Jewish history in India. Beyond the Paradesi Synagogue, Kochi Jews have established a variety of synagogues in both Kochi and nearby areas. While some of the synagogues are no longer active due to the dwindling Jewish population, many have been preserved as heritage sites and museums. These synagogues serve as a window into the spiritual life of Kerala's Jewish community and their cultural contributions. Located in a small town near Kochi, this synagogue dates back to 1640. Though no longer an active place of worship, it is now a museum showcasing Jewish artifacts including traditional lamps, Torah scrolls and the trade-related items, offering a glimpse into the lives of the Malabar Jews. One of the oldest synagogues in the region this synagogue is believed to have been built in the 12th century. It has been restored and turned into a museum that highlights the history and traditions of the Jewish community. Though inactive, it exhibits and preserved artifacts through interactive exhibits and preserved artifacts. Mala Synagogue. Originally built in 1597, the Mala Synagogue is another important site that represents the Jewish settlement in Kerala. Though it is no longer an active synagogue, it stands as a historical structure attesting to the once vibrant Jewish presence in the region. What ties all these synagogues together is their distinctive architecture, Malayalam cultural influences are evident in the wooding interior, sloping tiled roofs, and overall design. At the same time, symbols of Jewish faith and tradition are richly preserved in these spaces, from the Ark House in the Torah scrolls to ceremonial lamps and the Star of David. Religious practices. The Kochi Jews, comprising both Paradesi Jews, developed religious practices that were deeply rooted in Judaism while also reflecting local influences and their unique historical experiences. Despite forming distinct subgroups, with being the early settlers of ancient origin and the Paradesi later during the 15th and 16th centuries, both groups maintained their faith and traditions with reverence, religious customs and celebrations. The Jewish community in Kochi stands as one of the oldest and most historically significant Jewish populations outside Israel, and their synagogue services vibrant testaments to the enduring legacy. These sacred spaces have not only functioned as places of worship, but also a cultural and social hub, symbolising the coexistence of Jewish traditions with local cultural millennium of Kerala. Through their synagogues, religious practices, the Kochi and Paradesi Jews have preserved their spiritual beliefs, cultural heritage and communal bonds over centuries. The Jewish community, from the very beginning of their settlement in Kerala, the Jewish community experienced acceptance and even support from the local Hindu rulers. This was particularly evident during the early centuries when Jews lived in the ancient port town of Shingle. Hindu kings, most notably the Shaman rulers, offered the Jewish community protection and privilege, enabling them to live peacefully and flourish. The Jewish community in Kochi holds the distinction of being one of the oldest Jewish settlements in the world, with a history that dates back over 2 millennia. Unlike other Jewish communities around the world, the Jews of Kochi experienced relatively little persecution during their long history in India. However, their peaceful existence was not without challenges, especially during the Portuguese colonial rule, which brought with it the horrors of the Inquisition. In modern times, the community has witnessed a significant decline, primarily due to social political changes and shifting family and cultural dynamics, leaving only a handful of Jews in Kochi today. The story of Kochi's Jewish community stands in stark contrast to the historical narrative of widespread persecution faced by Jewish populations in other parts of the world. For most of their history in Kerala, Kochi Jews enjoyed a peaceful and harmonious relationship with the local Hindu rulers, as well as with their region's Muslims and Christians. The local ruler of Kerala, particularly kings and later the rulers of Kochi, extended protections and privileges to the Jewish settlers, recognising their contribution to trade and the local economy. The tolerance and peaceful coexistence fostered an environment where the Jews could not only practice their religion freely, but could also integrate aspects of their local surroundings into their daily practices. However, this long-standing period of peace and prosperity faced disruption during the 16th century with the arrival of the Portuguese colonial powers. The entry of the Portuguese in Kerala in 1498 marked the beginning of a challenging period for the Jewish communities. Whilst the Jews thrived under the relatively tolerant Hindu rulers of Kerala, the Portuguese brought with them the ominous shadows of the European Inquisition, an institution aimed at persecuting and eliminating religious minorities including Jews, Muslims and other non-Christians. Under the Portuguese, the Jewish population in Kochi faced harassment and targeted oppression. Their religious attacks were outlawed. Their synagogues suffered attacks, and some members of the community were forced to flee. Despite their adversities, the Kochian Jews sought refuge under the protective rule of the tolerant local Hindu kings of Kochi. After centuries of relative prosperity and stability in Kerala, the Jewish community of Kochi experienced a significant decline during the mid-20th century. A combination of religious, cultural and social political factors contributed to the growing numbers of Jews in the region, ultimately reducing their population to a mere handful today. The formation of the State of Israel in 1948 profoundly impacted Jewish communities across the world, including in Kochi. Many Kochian Jews saw in Israel the promise of a homeland where they could reunite with other Jews and practice their faith in a secure environment after centuries of living in diaspora. As a result, there was a mass migration of Kochian Jews to Israel. Families, many of whom had called Kerala home for over 1,000 years, left behind their synagogues, homes and businesses to start anew in the Promised Land. This exodus was a fulfilment of a long-held spiritual aspiration, marked the beginning of the end of a thriving Jewish presence in Kochi. Over time, this contributed to the dwindling numbers of Kochian Jews remaining in Kerala, leaving behind only a fraction of the once flourishing community. In addition to those who departed for Israel, a number of Paradesi Jews, particularly those with British colonial ties, chose to migrate to Commonwealth nations such as Australia, the UK and Canada. These migrations were also motivated by economic opportunities and the appeal of rebuilding their lives in nations connected to the colonial framework that had become familiar with during British rule in India. Today, the Jewish community in Kochi faces numerous challenges that threaten the preservation of their traditions and cultural heritage. The aging population, coupled with the on of Jewish traditions by many younger generations, has led to a significant decline in communal activities and everyday practice of Judaism in the region. Changing social dynamics have also led to an increase in interfaith marriages, further diluting the small community's ability to maintain its unique identity. Furthermore, changing family structures, such as the migration of younger members for education and economic opportunities abroad, have left behind a small number of elderly Jews in Kochi. These individuals' attempts to maintain their traditions and their forebears, but their efforts face significant challenges due to a lack of larger supportive community around them. The story of Kochian Jews has not only provides an example of cultural resilience, but also draws attention to the importance of protective heritage preservation. The blending of Jewish, Hindu, Muslim and Christian cultural elements stands as a remarkable testament to Keller's broad-minded and inclusive ethos, providing a framework for peaceful coexistence in a world that often divided by religious and cultural differences. Personal stories, preservers of the Kochi Jewish legacy. Let me just... Right, so... The history of the Jewish community in Kochi is not only about the synagogue's trade and cultural contributions, but also about the people who lived, thrived and carried forward this extraordinary legacy. While the community stays reduced to just a handful of individuals, their personal stories offer invaluable insights into the life struggles and traditions the Kochi Jews. Figures like Sarah Cohen and Trina House stand as torchbearers of a nearly bygone era, with their stories serving as a living link to one of India's oldest Jewish communities. These individuals, through their quiet resilience and dedication, have become symbols of a larger cultural story and testament to the enduring spirit of Kochi Jews. Sarah Cohen, the embroiderer of Jewish traditions. Sarah Cohen was one of the most recognisable faces of Kochi's Jewish community and a living respiratory of their rich traditions. She was greatly admired by her warmth, grace and tireless dedication to preserving and sharing Jewish culture with the world. Born in 1922, Sarah spent most of her eventful life in Jewtown, Massachusetts, at the heart of Kochi's Jewish quarter. She was part of a Paradesi Jewish community descended from sporadic Jews who arrived in Kerala centuries ago. In her later years, Sarah Cohen became a symbol of the Kochi Jewish legacy due to her small yet iconic embroidery shop situated near the historic Paradesi Synagogue, known as Sarah's Hand Embroidery. The shop specialised in handcrafted items such as ceremonial embroidery, traditional Jewish head coverings, prayer shawls and other Judica items. These products, crafted by Sarah herself, were highly valued as symbols of Jewish identity and devotion, not only by the local community but also by visitors from around the world. Sarah's embroidery shop became much more than a business. It was a vibrant space where she shared stories of her community's history, culture and customs with travellers, researchers and students. Even as the community dwindled, she stood steadfast as a cap of tradition, reminding the world of the Kochi Jews. Contributions to Kerala's multifactorial fabric. Sarah Cohen passed away at the age of 96 in 2019, leaving behind a legacy that continues to inspire those striving to preserve dying traditions and heritage. Freeing how a witness to the past. Another significant figure in the Kochi Jewish community is Krieger, one of its last surviving members. Krieger has played an active role in bearing witness to her community's rich history and sharing her life experiences with researchers and visitors. As one of the few remaining members of the ancient diaspora, Her life represents the twilight years of a once thriving community. Queenie's personal story reflects not only pride in her Jewish heritage, but also a deep awareness of the vulnerabilities of her community's present state. She has opened her home to journalists, travellers and academics, sharing glimpses of her daily life and stories about the practices and customs that shaped Jewish life in Kochi over hundreds of years ago. Efforts have been made in recent decades to document the stories of individuals like Queenie. Oral histories, photographs and written narratives have been collected to ensure that the experience of the Kochi Jews are preserved for future generations. These records capture more than just the history of a community. They capture the essence of human resilience, adaptation and the desire to maintain one's identity, even in the face of enormous change. In recounting her experience, Queenie often speaks of the other significant Jewish figure in her communities, such as Sarah Cohen, whose stories were deeply interconnected and whose contributions to Jewish traditions endure through artifacts and memories. The personal stories of Sarah Cohen and the other Kochi Jews are a window into the rich yet fragile history of Jewish history in Kerala. Recognising the importance of preserving their voices, numerous documentaries and writers have made efforts to capture these stories before they are lost to time. Projects such as oral history recordings, interviews and documentaries have aimed to highlight not only the historical significance of the Kochi Jews, but also the personal experience that gives it vibrancy. One such effort was the initiative to document Sarah Cohen's life and work with her embroidery shop, serving as a central symbol of the Kochi Jews' cultural pride. Similarly, organisations like the Indian Jewish Heritage Centre have been instrumental in achieving photographs, correspondence and testimonies from individuals like Queenie, safeguarding their memoirs for future study. Through these efforts, the unique identity of Kochi Jews is being preserved, offering a glimpse into their customs, contributions and their journey as one of the world's oldest Jewish communities. The lives of Sarah Cohen and Queenie, as well as other members of the Jewish community who lived in Kochi form an integral part of Kerala's historical narrative. Their efforts to preserve their traditions and recount their histories not only fulfill personal resilience, but also contribute to a broader understanding of how small communities can make a lasting impact. As the Jewish community continues to dwindle, the efforts of individuals to preserve and document their heritage becomes crucial through their stories. For Kochi Jews teach us the importance of honouring one's culture and sharing the heritage with the world. Their legacy is enriched not only by a grand synagogue or trade contributions built by the lives and stories of people like Sarah Cohen and Queenie, whose devotion to their roots stand as an inspiration to all. Their lives remind us that cultures are not just preserved by monuments and artifacts, but also through the voices and memories of individuals. Thanks to their personal efforts of these remarkable figures and the dedication of historians, the story of the Kochi Jews continues to thrive into the collective memory and remain a part of Kerala's vibrant cultural heritage. And the last bit now. Today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy was an enlightening journey through the rich history, culture and legacy of the Jewish community of Kochi. It allowed us to explore the remarkable story of one of the world's oldest Jewish diaspora groups, who thrived for centuries on the Malabar coast, blending seamlessly into Kochi's multicultural society while maintaining their distinct identity and traditions. We have learned how the Kochian Jews arrived in India through ancient trade routes, finding sanctuary in a land known for its acceptance and inclusivity. We have seen how they contributed significantly to the region's economic growth through the spice trade, established synagogues that harmlessly combined Jewish traditions with Kerala's architectural aesthetics and built strong ties with their Hindu, Muslim and Christian neighbours. Due to time, the Paradesi Synagogue and the sacred Jewish cemetery stand as reservoirs of this elusive history, symbolising their heritage and cultural accomplishments. The lesson has shown us that the beauty of the Kochian Jews' legacy lies in their ability to maintain their distinct identity while being an integral part of Kochi's social and cultural tapestry. The peaceful coexistence they shared with other communities of faith teaches us how diversity can be a source of strength rather than division. Despite the modern-day decline of their population due to migration to Israel and other countries, the stories of remarkable individuals like Sarah Cohen and Queenie remind us of the enduring power of human resilience and the importance of preserving cultural heritage. As we conclude this lesson, let us take with us the invaluable teachings of tolerance, acceptance and the beauty of diversity amplified by the Jewish community in Kochi. The women of the Butterfly Princess Academy, the Butterfly Princess, the founder and tutor of the Butterfly Princess Academy, is a carrier of a noble mission to interpret and preserve such legacies, ensuring their stories of the past are not only live on but inspire new generations to embrace unity amidst diversity. By fostering understanding, respect and appreciation for cultural differences, we are empowered to build a world where harmony and collaboration thrive. Our lesson on the Kochian Jews reflects that history is not merely a record of the past, but a guide for preserving humanity's shared values and embracing the richness of multicultural identities. As students of the Butterfly Princess Academy, this lesson encourages us to reflect on the importance of preserving and celebrating cultural diversity and heritage. The legacy of Kochi's Jewish community reminds us that history is not merely what is captured in books and monuments, but in the lives and stories of people who lived it. It calls upon each of us to be mindful considerers of our shared cultural heritage, working to honour, preserve and pass it on to future generations. Today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy has been a profound journey into the remarkable history of the Jewish community of Kochi. Through the lens of this ancient diaspora, we have witnessed the enduring power of cultural preservation, the significance of peaceful coexistence, and the beauty that arises from diversity and shared heritage. The Cochrane Jewish story is an inspiring example of how communities can navigate change, adapt to new realities, and thrive in harmony with others, all while remaining rooted to their traditions. As we reflect on this fascinating fact of this lesson, we are reminded that of the core values that the Butterfly Princess Academy seeks to install in its students. The Academy stands apart not only as a place for intellectual growth, but as a space where curiosity, empathy, and appreciation for heritage are cultivated. It fosters the butterfly-like transformation of its learners, encouraging them to explore the interconnectedness of history, culture, and humanity. The Cochrane Jewish community's legacy teaches us that heritage is more than physical relics from the past. It is preserved in language, stories, customs, and the lives of individuals. At the same time, their harmonious relationship with Kerala's diverse communities teach us that tolerance and acceptance have the power to create lasting legacies. The decline of the Cochrane Jews have also served as a poignant lesson about the fragility of culture in a rapidly globalising world. It urges us to take active steps to honour, document and safeguard histories, especially those on the brink of disappearing. It challenges us to see the world as a shared heritage that we must protect for ourselves and future generations to learn from and cherish. At the Butterfly Princess Academy, these lessons are more than academic insights. They are guiding principles designed to inspire students to lead lives of understanding and to champion their preservation of not just their own identities, but the diversity that enriches our world. This institution, like the Butterfly for which it is named, aims to facilitate transformation, encouraging young minds to recognise the beauty of the world's culture while fostering compassion and collaboration in any space they inhabit. As we close today's lesson, let us leave with these parting thoughts. What legacies will we as individuals and as communities nurture and pass on to future generations? How do we balance adaptation and identity in our evolving globalising world? May the lessons learned today lead the students of the Butterfly Princess Academy towards a deeper purpose, to become the keepers and storytellers of humanity's shared heritage, celebrating the colours of diversity just as Butterfly adorns itself with the use of transformation. As we transform ourselves like the butterfly, let us also aim to transform the world for the better. And that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, concludes today's lesson at the Butterfly Princess Academy, where curiosity takes flight and wisdom wears wings. I would very much like to thank you for joining me for today's lesson at the Academy, and hope that in the very near future you will be able to join me again for future lessons here at the Academy. But until then, take care, and I will see you again, all again very, very soon. Bye bye for now.